We've got real waste, real fraud, and we are going to get to the bottom of it. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Unemployment Agency. People can simply check a box saying that they are eligible, and in most cases, that is enough to start receiving benefits. There's only 4 pieces of information that are required: a first name, last name, an address, and an alien number, only if that person self-identifies as a non-citizen. No social security number is required, even if someone claims to be a citizen. I brought MDHHS before our committee. We pulled up the website for benefits. We went through all 27 pages, and at the end, we're given the opportunity to register to vote.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about the story that came out in Michigan, where 293 non-citizens were allowed to be part of a jury pool. But the thing is, obviously, they can't be in the jury pool because they're not citizens. Now, what this proves is these people are actually on the voter rolls. That's the only place where you actually get people for jury pool.
Yeah, what happened during the last administration is all the pedigree docs were handed out to a certain amount of the 30 million illegals that Joe brought in. And obviously that's a huge problem for citizens, and we're going to dig into it. We would very much appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe.
Now, guys, we have a document showing that, but first, I want to show you this video of this gentleman talking about. Not only is this happening in Michigan, it's happening in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Now, this is a little bit older video, came out before the election, and he was warning people that they are doing this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video.
What they're doing is, Biden is flying all of these migrants all over the country. Well, that's not the story. The real story is what happens when they get there. So in Wisconsin and in Minnesota and in Michigan, they're flying migrants in plane load after plane load. I mean, think tens of thousands are flying in. And what they're doing is the religious charities, Catholic charities, Lutheran charities, other religious charities, are setting up these things they call homeless shelters, but they're not homeless shelters. They don't have any beds. They're like an office.
Yeah, I remember when this was happening. And the thing is, what he's talking about is Joe Biden was actually flying people into swing states in order to make sure that he could actually get them to change from being purple to blue. And that's my opinion. I'm sure Romeo's probably going to agree with that. What he was using the immigration for was actually a voter drive.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly true. We saw it. He specifically was dropping people off in the dead of night in different areas because they were trying to overcome the Republican majority. And it was close in a lot of counties, and they targeted those counties. It's just a fact.
Yeah, the thing is, these immigrants wouldn't have helped if you put them in, like, let's say, California or New York or Chicago, because you're going to win that state anyway. You want to put it in a purple state like Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, places like that, in order so you could actually try to move the election towards your favor.
And what you do is these homeless people, they're told to go to these locations, and they do. And what do they get? They get debit cards worth several $1,000s. They get free telephones. They get clothing. And then what they get is they get registered to vote. And they are getting registered by the tens of thousands in the swing states. And we're seeing it in the data. I mean, we're not making this up. We actually see it live in the data because remember, we run a lot of the swing states, and we essentially...
This is also another example of ghost voting because these people don't have addresses. So what they would do is put the address of the clinic that they're stopping at to get all this information.
Yeah, it's really sickening. I mean, again, in all this fraud, the common theme is when you go to the address, nobody's there.
Or it's a homeless shelter that don't have that many people, and the homeless shelter is not even in operation now.
Have very quick analysis to all the changes in their voter rolls because we're running essentially real-time type systems. Well, then what happens is they register these people, but these people don't stay in Wisconsin and Michigan. They're gone. They're gone in 2 weeks because people who are migrating from Venezuela and Costa Rica aren't going to live in Wisconsin and Minnesota where you're going to freeze your butt off. They're all moving south. So they're ending up in California. They're ending up in Texas. They're under bridges in Austin. They're gone. But what they do is these migrants, really funny, they actually are playing one religious group against another. So they'll go do this and they will harvest, the migrants will harvest all this free money and get themselves registered in Wisconsin. And then they go to Minnesota and they do it again. And these brain dead religious groups are just funding doing this. But the part that's dangerous for the United States, and we're seeing it, I guess, in the data, is these folks are getting registered by the tens of thousands.
That should scare the crap out of everyone, because look at 3 states were decided by around 12,000 votes average in 2020. And they're moving tens of thousands into specific counties and areas that will be outcome determinative. So this is huge.
Now, the reason it didn't become outcome determinative in 2024 is because the Trump administration, with the help with other people, that includes Turning Point USA and other organizations, sued these states to take people that were illegally on voter rolls, take them off of there. I think altogether, all the states was around 9 million. And if that would have stayed on there, I think Kamala Harris would have won the presidential election. But fortunately, all that happened and Trump beat the cheat. So this is an example of what they do to try to manipulate elections when it comes to voting. Now, the other thing I want to show you now is that document that I talked about. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
What we have found is very disturbing. 239 non-citizens were found in the jury pool over a 4-month period. In a cross-check of our voter rolls, it appears 14 of these prospective jurors were registered to vote at some point in time. Our QVF shows instances where some of these non-citizens potentially have a voting history. One in particular appears to have voted several times, all of which could result in felony charges. We absolutely cannot have jurors that aren't citizens. I mean, the whole idea behind a jury is a jury of your peers, of people who grew up in the same culture and like you did. I don't want someone from Ecuador or Venezuela deciding my fate. They grew up with different customs and morals, and even worse, look at, if they're making it to a jury pool, these people are registered to vote. They are going to be voting in our elections.
Yeah, I think they're underestimating it because they're saying 14 out of the 239. And I'm like this, look, if they're in a jury pool, it's 100%. Most of them are probably registered to vote. Now, whether or not they did vote or not, I don't know. But the thing is, they focus on the one that they have actually know that vote. So I'm like this, if you look at the population of Michigan, which the population of Michigan is right around, I think, 10 million. Okay, if you have 239 that are registered to vote that are illegal, and then you have 14 that actually did perhaps vote, and they know one that definitely did. The numbers on there is anywhere from at least 500,000 to 1 million people actually voted that didn't have a legal right to vote in Michigan alone. So if you look at that nationwide, that tells you the kind of numbers that we have are voting that shouldn't be voting.
Right. This is potentially outcome determinative fraud in 26 and 28. So we had better get busy in every state. You know, and the hard part is the Biden administration gave everyone like driver's license, social security card, birth certificate. Like they gave them all the docs.
Well, it wasn't only the Biden administration, it was the states themselves. Like you have California and New York giving people CDLs, which is insane to me. When they're illegals, they don't even know how to speak the language, much less know what it's like to drive in the United States. It's insane to me. But guys, this is the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody.
Thanks for joining us.